The New York Times headquarters were vandalized by pro-Gaza and pro-Hamas radicals in New York City. Take a look at this video that's going viral on social media. So why were the New York Times headquarters vandalized? Well, it's because they dared issue a correction. They dared issue a retraction on a part of a story that they put out there. So take a look at their front page from Friday, July 25th. The main headline here is "Young, Old, and Sick Starved to Death in Gaza. There is Nothing." And the primary image is this mother holding her child. And obviously the conclusion they want you to draw is that children are starving to death in Gaza because of Israel. There is a genocide and Israel is a cruel, monstrous state. But there's just one problem with this image. It's not even recent, first of all. It's over a year old. But if you take a look at this image right here, take a look at the kid's brother. The brother doesn't look starved. He doesn't look malnourished. The mom, in fact, looks quite content, quite happy in this picture as she's looking at her son. And it's because the son has a congenital condition. He was born with a muscular issue, but it wasn't just the New York Times pushing this out there. Multiple newspapers around the world used the exact same image in some cases, or others also used the same boy. Now, you'll notice the one in red where it has the woman banging the pots and pans, begging for food. Well, some sleuths online found the full picture and they found that part of it was cropped out, and it appears to show women smiling and laughing in the background. Well, as you can imagine, this image went viral online and really stoked a lot of anger and hatred towards Israel. But like I said, there's a problem. It doesn't show the kid starving because of Israel. He has a muscular condition that makes him appear starved. And, well, the New York Times figured that out, and they actually issued this statement. Children in Gaza are malnourished and starving, as New York Times reporters and others have documented. We recently ran a story about Gaza's most vulnerable civilians, including Mohammed Zakaria al-Mutawak, who is about 18 months old and suffers from severe malnutrition. We have since learned new information, including from the hospital that treated him and his medical records, and have updated our story to add context about his pre-existing health problems. This additional detail gives readers a greater understanding of his situation. Our reporters and photographers continue to report from Gaza bravely, sensitively, and at personal risk so that readers can see firsthand the consequences of the war. Now, if you get a simple story, a simple image like that wrong, it really casts into doubt your other reporting. And so that's why this is such a big deal. And when it comes to journalism, it is almost impossible to unring that bell. So you put that out there and millions of people see it. They get just nasty, hateful opinions towards Israel, towards the IDF, towards Jewish people. And then it turns out that that story wasn't even accurate. But to make matters even worse, when the New York Times issued that retraction, they didn't even put it on their main account. So when the main story went out, they promoted it on the New York Times main Twitter feed, which you will see has 55.1 million followers. Let me go back to that. This is at New York Times. Well, they couldn't even bother to publish the retraction, the correction on that account. They published it under New York Times PR, New York Times Communication. And you will notice that this account only has 89,000 followers. Yeah, quite a big difference. So the people who saw that image probably don't even know it's fake. I doubt most people who saw it will ever understand the full scope of this. And all of that correction right there, just admitting that they got part of the story wrong, is what led to vandalism, is what led to radicals just throwing paint and making it look like the New York Times has blood on its hands. Just absolutely ridiculous. But what is even more crazy to me, on top of all of that, is that this isn't even making news. So I just Google searched before making this video. This happened this morning, by the way. New York Times vandalized. Nothing showing up. The only two articles writing about this are Israel-based websites, the Jerusalem Post, and then the second one you can see there. I have yet to see a mainstream source report on this. Now, I do have a lot of friends in New York City, and I did text a few of them and say, hey, is this true? Have you seen this firsthand? And I can confirm that this did happen, and it is exactly as it seems. Like I said, though, it is dangerous, and it makes the atmosphere dangerous for Jewish people because it stokes hatred. It stokes all of that anti-Semitism that unfortunately has been rising up. And it came into full view when Regina Spektor, she's currently on tour right now, her concerts, Regina Spektor is Jewish, by the way, her concerts have been interrupted by protesters who are coordinating themselves to buy tickets, go in large groups, and heckle her during the show. Some of them have rushed the stage, and they're basically trying to get her to say Free Palestine. Now, what I'm about to show you is just the end of what was about a 5 to 6 minute sequence.
I don't know, I mean, the only reason I even speak English is because I came here to escape this. I only speak English because I came from a country where people were treating Jews as others, and now I'm being othered here, and it sucks.
We love you, Regina!
You know, it'd be nice if one of my family's generation didn't have to go to a new country and learn a new language, just they could.
Yeah, I just think the whole situation is sad and tragic, and part of the reason why I haven't talked about Israel, Hamas, and Gaza on the channel that much is because I truly believe it's impossible to know what is actually going on there unless we were actually there firsthand and like we're on the ground seeing things happen. Because quite frankly, there's a lot of propaganda going on both sides. Whenever I speak positively on Israel, I lose subscribers and people are like, well, Daniel, you need to do your own research. Well, no, I've done my research and I've seen those stories and those sources that get the pro-Gaza crowd riled up. But the reality is that, yes, there is propaganda on both sides, and I think there are a lot of people, unfortunately, who are anti-Semitic, and whenever there's a narrative that comes around, like that image, they latch on to that, and they will use everything they can to justify their hatred. And then there are people who, unfortunately, still trust the mainstream media. I mean, there are so many reasons why people believe what they believe. But for me, I personally believe that the truth is somewhere in the middle. Do I think Israel is perfect? No. But do I believe that they're behind a systematic mass genocide? No, I don't. And look, I'll prove it here, too, just using what we know, using common sense. So it turns out Marjorie Taylor Greene, by the way, is the first Republican to call what's happening in Gaza a genocide. So she is basically accusing Israel of being the same as Nazi Germany. Well, we do know that there are humanitarian sites in Gaza. Specifically, there are 4 locations. They're identified here as SDS1 and all the way through 4. But one of the things that the left is claiming is that people are being shot at these aid sites by Israel, which unfortunately that is true, but hey, it is a war, and if you think Hamas is coming, I mean, if they really wanted to kill all these people, they could just bomb the area, they could just shoot at will, but no, it's always wherever there are issues. But if you take a look at this, you can see that just last month, June, there were over 800 deaths linked to the distribution of aid. But that alone tells you, well, there is aid going out there, right? And that's not even getting into the argument of, is Hamas blocking it? Is Hamas stealing it? Like, it's not even getting into that. For people to be killed at aid sites means they need to be getting to those aid sites in the first place. And then we do have satellite imagery that shows the aids being at these sites. This one is of SDS3, and you can see this was taken just a few days ago. You can see tons of boxes, food, which has the basic necessities, water, flour, oil, the proteins. And then here's another one. This is SDS2. You can see the throngs of people showing up to get there. And if we take a look look at this, we can actually see the bottom two right on the border of Egypt. So you can see the entry points. There are security checkpoints there in the circle dots. This is the path to get to the aid site, and then obviously what's in white are the actual aid sites. But what leftists and people in the Democrat Party and people who are pro-Gaza, pro-Hamas, what they're claiming is that Israel is basically stopping any and all aid from getting in there. But again, we can see from the satellite imagery that's not true. We know people are dying at the aid sites, but then they'll throw out other things, right? They'll promote stories where the only source is Hamas or the source is the United Nations, which sounds like it's a legitimate source, but they're getting their information from Hamas. And then we have all the stories that have proven to be false time and time again. And then you have this one with the New York Times. It's just another example. I thought there was actually a great conversation on this, believe it or not, at CNN. So let's just take a look at that to close out the video.
By saying that what's happening in Gaza is terrible and emotions are running very high. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and it's important for us to get to the facts of the issue. I want to say to what Peter said, there's not only reports of starvation in Gaza for a year, there's been reports since 2007 of starvation in Gaza. Because what happened in 2007? Hamas took over Gaza. There were no reports of starvation prior to that when Israel was in control of Gaza. Now, the facts are right now, we have over 600 trucks, food trucks, and thousands of crates in northern Gaza that the United Nations is refusing to distribute inside Gaza. Now, I know that Peter has also said that the reason why they can't distribute is because Israel has a law and is refusing to allow the United Nations Relief Works Agency into Gaza. Israel is not allowing UNRWA into Gaza as long as UNRWA refuses to say it will not work directly with Hamas.
So let me just pause you there.
Let me just say one more thing. Contrast that way to what's happening in southern Gaza.
I want to pause there just to address, there's a lot that you're saying. You just said two things that seem actually pretty contradictory. You said the UN is refusing to distribute aid in Gaza, but you also said that Israel is refusing to allow the UN to distribute aid in Gaza.
The United Nations
which one is it? And also, I mean, look, you know, there are reports of starvation in Gaza. Even in 2007, imagine the circumstances right now. Back when there was aid coming into Gaza at the clip of 600 trucks per day, there was still a need. Now the clip is more like 30 trucks per day.
Let me clarify. As long as the United Nations refuses to guarantee that it will not work with Hamas in the distribution of aid, because we know Hamas uses food as a weapon, Israel won't allow UNRWA in.
Okay,
it will allow
let
me just finish my point. Contrast that to what's happening in southern Gaza.
You're making a claim that
where the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation
you're making a claim that we've heard a lot. We've heard this a lot, especially.
Well, and then on top of that, there's the fact that Israel is actually helping distribute some of this aid. And when can anyone name another time in history where a nation has fed one of its enemies during wartime? I get that not all Gazans are Hamas, right? But I can't think of an example that a country has provided humanitarian aid for people on the other side. So I'm not trying to discount or say that there isn't starvation or say that there aren't issues or say that maybe there's food insecurity or whatever is going on. I just personally don't believe that it is systemic genocide. As always, though, it's just my analysis, just my commentary. That's what's going on in the world of politics from my point of view, and I'm curious about whether or not you believe there is systemic genocide, systemic starvation going on with Israel being the aggressor. Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to leave me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.